Before I talk about career or success, I want to talk to you about something very simple. What's the first thing that we did as we were born?
Right.
Reach out. Reach out to hold someone's hand. We reached out for approval. We reached out for love. We reached out for safety. We reached out for identity. But as we grew up, those hands became invisible. And even as they became invisible, we continue to reach out. We reach out now for marks. We reach out now for degrees, for promotions. But as we reached out, things changed. The people changed around you, and no longer reaching out was done the way it should be. Maybe now we started reaching up more, reaching up the ladder, reaching up the hierarchy, reaching up the status. But maybe the problem was never reaching out. The problem was who we are reaching out and what for. Because the future is not going to be built by people who are up the ladder. The future is going to be built by people who could allow you to connect, to collaborate, and create a world that will enable such collaborations. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. How each one of us can dream, dare, and do, and break barriers, and reimagine success not as a race to top, but as a journey towards each other. Now here, as we think about our hands, let's not forget the hands that built ours, and I'm not forgetting mine. My grandfather, the man on the extreme left, he was a trader in spices, born and raised in Palakkad over a century ago. He was a businessman at that stage. He traveled 5 cities, spoke multiple languages. If I would have asked him, Tata, what do you do? He would say, my life is like a river, so I explore and survive. The man in the middle is my dad. He worked for one automobile company. At the age of 17, he moved from Palakkad to Mumbai, joined the automobile company. One job, one desk, one predictable client. His life was like a ladder, and he inherited a bit of boredom too. And as we continue the journey, my mom, also a Central Railway employee, did a phenomenal job of working for 37 years. If I were to think about difference between the two, my dad did not have a pension, my mom had. And one thing that always she says, even today, is if only you had a government job, beta, your life would have been secure. And there's me, multiple pivots, 22 years in the industry, worked across the world, did variety of things. Today I'm on my own as an entrepreneur. I lead and coach. My life is like a GPS, constantly calculating, recalculating, recalibrating. Sometimes I wonder, have I found my true calling? So which one is right? Is it the river? Is it the ladder? Or is it the GPS? The truth is none of them, yet all of them. Because what each and every generation did was true and right for their time. 3 generations, 3 metaphors, and 3 definitions of success: survival, stability, and significance. As we move along, one of the things that I learned was this question that was posed to me: would you become a doctor or an engineer? How many of you were asked that question as you grew up? You can raise your hand. That chase for stability, I call, is not an Indian flaw, but a colonial hangover. For 200 years, when we were ruled by British, we were trained to be best of administrators, clerks, and Obedience was rewarded, risk-taking was punished, and creativity was really unnecessary. Now, even after independence, things should have changed. We clung to the same old belief. What we did was we continued to harper on the same belief of finish education, get into a job, get married, have kids, make them do the same thing that you did, and get a pension and have a secure life. But that, unfortunately, has started changing now, because the ladders that once we stood on tall to are shaking, because the walls are getting disappeared. According to NASSCOM report, 60% of graduates are employable only after reskilling. What we have done in the process of getting educated is, unfortunately, we are getting trained for degrees and not discovery. We have also outsourced imagination. Now think about this. If you were to be in front of Yash Raj Productions and you see a banner which says, tomorrow onwards we don't want any actors, any directors, we only want musicians. Would a film like Sholay be made? Would a film like Bahubali or RRR be made? Absolutely not. Like in life, movies thrive on collaboration. Collaborating with people who think differently, see differently, dare differently. Bahubali was possible because Sholay was made 50 years ago. Sholay was a great act of collaboration. Collaboration between Salim and Javed, Amitabh Bachchan and Dharmendra. Amjad Khan was introduced as a villainous character. This was the first 70mm film, which kind of inspired several more directors and technical crew. Today, a Bahubali was possible because S.S. Rajamouli did a phenomenal job of making 2,000 people. No joking, 2,000 people work every single day for 2 years to make the film. So much so that Mani Ratnam has agreed and accepted and acknowledged that I could do Ponniyin Selvan only because Rajamouli did Bahubali. If we can't think a movie with only one kind of talent, why are we thinking about careers in only one way? That's a thing that you may want to think about. And legends are always born when imagination refuses to stay in one box. Albert Einstein once said, imagination is more important than knowledge. I didn't realize this until I really took a plunge into a new role within one of the big 4 organizations that I was working for, which was built on gig economy. When I talk about gig economy, or when I talked about gig economy, people often would say, oh, that means Ola drivers and Uber riders, right? Well, I would smile at that and I would think that this is much bigger. Because that year, Niti Aayog produced a report which said by 2030, over 200 million people would be working in gig roles. Now, this is not only Ola drivers, Uber riders. These are people who are like you and me, who would be working as consultants, freelancers, fractional CXOs, coders, creators, and a lot more. Now that's coming. What started off as a personal risk became a moment for me, actually speaking. Now, what that has also led to is that we are now staring in reality of not being known only from a business card perspective. We need not be known from a degree perspective. Because today, what we are seeing is a doctor sitting anywhere in the world, uses online app, and doesn't need to heal only in the hospital or a clinic that he or she works for, but they can actually heal for people anywhere in the world. An accountant doesn't need only to tally books of accounts for the city that he works for or the clients that he works for. He can actually do, using blockchain, look for a lot of frauds, investigate a lot of frauds. And an actor doesn't need to wait for a call from the director. He actually can pick up his phone, use the data that he gets, record himself, and perhaps go viral and be a sensation through YouTube or OTT. Now, what has changed in the recent times is the fact that the world around us is changing quite faster, requiring us to think differently, dream differently. Are we doing the same thing? Is a question that we need to think. Careers aren't marble statues anymore. Careers are Lego blocks. But the thing with Lego blocks is you can create, you can build, you can rebuild. Are we thinking about careers as marble statues? Maybe a point that all of us can think. Dreaming means refusing to be boxed by definition. Now, if we can dream, we need to dare as well, because dreaming alone won't help, as one of the speakers said this evening. Daring, I realized, is something very different. At the age of 42, when I was at the peak of my career, I decided to do things on my own. I today sit and coach, lead. But when I did that, a lot of people sent me WhatsApp text messages saying that, did you mess up your midlife? Or did you do things with full knowledge? And to be honest, I mean, there are nights when I lay awake and I think, have I found my calling, or is this just true courage? But in reality, I think daring requires us to think and do many things differently. Daring feels very dangerous, unfortunately. But when in the moment, it may seem dangerous. In hindsight, it may think and seem to be very courageous. Daring also means a young professional walking out of the company, not for a better offer, but to find better self. Daring also means parents letting go of your children to do things that they want to do, because loving also means letting go. Daring also means a leader saying finally that I don't love this ladder anymore. That kind of arises from witnessing something you created actually get wings and take flight. Now, if you have done daring, now comes the doing. And we can't really just stop at daring alone. According to DPIIT, and this is where I really commend a lot of startups that we have seen in the last decade and a half. According to DPIIT, which is a body that looks into the trade in India, startups alone have given rise to 930,000 direct jobs and countless indirect ones. That's, in my view, Atmanirbharta in action. Self-reliance actually getting turned into nation building. Now, this requires us to do things, again, differently. What is that? We need to rethink a lot of things. Most importantly, rethink education. Why only think about education as something that come here, study for 3 years, go back home and do nothing, or probably get a job? Rethinking has to be continuous. Education has to be continuous. Education need not be a 3-year or a 4-year degree. It could be a 3-month micro skill too. Rethinking parenting, meaning not only look for beta, become a doctor or an engineer alone. Why not a public policy expert? Why not an ethics officer? Rethinking also means rethinking leadership. And when I say leadership, at the end of the day, not only organizations about fancy job descriptions, value propositions, and a lot of those things. How do we create human-centered organizations which value people who come in and go out every single day? The real skill actually boils down to how do we continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. According to World Economic Forum, they published a report recently which said 85% of the jobs that are going to be there in 2030 don't even exist. So how do we prepare ourselves for the world that doesn't exist? We're really working towards learning, unlearning, relearning. Because success that lasts is not built on titles or income. It will be built on autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Now, I want to leave you with this image of a river. We heard that twice already today. But what does the river do? River does a phenomenal job of cutting through mountains, feeding cities along the way, crossing borders. Our job as leaders, parents, educators is not to dam those rivers. It is to allow the rivers to flow freely. Freely enough, trust them enough, guide them enough so that they go and finally hit the ocean. Between the bridges, they build the bridges of possibility between dreams and doing, between who we are and who we can become. And the true measure of success are not the ladders that we are climbing, but the bridges and belonging that we have created all the while. Lastly, future is not going to be about people who are climbing fastest. If that is the way that we have been thinking, it's time now for us to rethink that differently. It's going to be people who dare, dream, dare, and do. It's also going to be people who break barriers and build bridges. And it is also going to be a world where it will be a lot more wiser people, a kinder people, and a little bit more human people. Thank you very much.